As a young and ambitious George Washington stepped onto the stage of history, fate beckoned him toward a clash that would resonate from one end of the world to the other. In 1754, the flames of conflict ignited in the Ohio Valley, where Washington, then a colonial officer, found himself commanding troops against French forces. With determination, he oversaw the construction of Fort Necessity, a bastion of hope and defense against encroaching French influence. Little did he know that this skirmish marked the opening salvo of a larger conflagration, igniting the entire world into conflict that would come to be known as the 7 Years' War.
For years, the winds of war had been blowing, and after the Treaty of Aachen peace, dissatisfaction loomed among most participants of the war for Austrian succession. The Austrian Empire sought to regain lost Silesia, while Britain aimed to expand its colonial territories and maritime supremacy. France stood as a barrier to their plans. Prussia, emerging as a dominant power, found itself surrounded by wary neighbors. This tension laid the foundation for a conflict that involved major powers across Europe and beyond. The 7 Years' War, also known as the Third Silesian War in Europe, the Pomeranian War in Swedish history, and the French and Indian War in North America, marked a significant worldwide upheaval. It became renowned as the First World War by Winston Churchill. Join us as we dive into the causes, events, and consequences of this monumental conflict. Let's begin. The 7 Years' War saw its first skirmishes before official declarations, primarily in North America. The border disputes between Britain, France, and Spain over the Ohio River Valley ignited conflict. In 1754, a young George Washington, leading the Virginian colonial militia, faced French forces near Pittsburgh. This encounter sparked tensions that led to a subsequent British military expedition and French reinforcement. The 7 Years' War saw its first skirmishes before official declarations, primarily in North America. The border disputes between Britain, France, and Spain over the Ohio River Valley ignited conflict. In 1754, a young George Washington, leading the Virginian colonial militia, faced French forces near Pittsburgh. This encounter sparked tensions that led to a subsequent British military expedition and French reinforcement. Preceding the eruption of the 7 Years' War, a young and ambitious George Washington, then serving as a major in the colonial militia under the command of British King George II, received a critical directive. His mission was to lead English forces into regions strategically controlled by French troops who held a tight grip on the immensely profitable fur trade with Native American tribes. The French had strategically established control along vital points of the Mississippi River, fortifying their trade routes and ensuring the smooth passage of goods downstream. Recognizing the significance of disrupting French influence and challenging their territorial claims in these crucial trade areas, Washington embarked on an expedition to assert British interests. During his campaign, Washington took the initiative to construct a makeshift fortification known as Fort Necessity, a strategic outpost aimed at asserting British presence and contesting French control. However, tensions quickly escalated, culminating in a clash between Washington's forces and a contingent of French troops and their Native American allies. The situation intensified, leading to the eventual siege and subsequent capture of Fort Necessity by the French in July 1754. This pivotal event marked an early engagement that would later contribute to the escalation of hostilities and the broader conflict that would become the 7 Years' War.
Before the official war declaration, Europe witnessed a diplomatic revolution. Previous alliances proved futile after the War of the Austrian Succession. Britain's support for Austria against France faltered, leading to Prussia capturing Silesia and a subsequent peace agreement with Austria. This shook the stability of European alliances, resulting in Britain choosing Prussia over Austria.
The European front lines were the epicenter of the Seven Years' War, a theater of conflict where major powers vied for dominance. In this pivotal struggle, the British Empire, joined by allies Portugal and Prussia, faced off against the formidable coalition of the French Empire, backed by Spain and Austria. Stretching from the heartlands of Europe to the far-flung territories of these empires, the battlegrounds became a relentless theater of war, igniting nations in the flames of widespread conflict. The Caribbean islands, adorned with sugar-rich plantations and pivotal ports, emerged as a strategic battleground for the warring European powers. In these azure waters, naval battles and daring amphibious assaults intensified, highlighting the significance of coveted territories like Guadeloupe and Martinique as key prizes in this theater of conflict. The conflict expanded its horizon to West Africa and India, where British and French interests collided fiercely. In West Africa, the struggle for control over vital forts and trade posts unfolded, while the Indian subcontinent witnessed a stage dominated by Anglo-French rivalry. The turning point arrived in 1757 at the Battle of Plassey, as Robert Clive's British forces clinched a monumental victory over the French-supported Nawab of Bengal, solidifying British influence and marking a significant shift in the Indian narrative. As the Seven Years' War erupted, the British Empire, under the reign of King George II, stood as a formidable world power. British colonial dominions spanned across North America, the Caribbean, and the Indian subcontinent. The core of the conflict between Britain and its primary rival, France, was deeply rooted in long-standing territorial disagreements across these pivotal regions. Under the governance of leaders such as the influential William Pitt, the Elder, George II's government was resolute in its mission to expand British influence and fortify its territorial claims against its adversaries. During the Seven Years' War, Louis XV governed a French empire that harbored grand ambitions for worldwide supremacy, undeterred by past setbacks. France's colonial reach stretched expansively across territories from Canada to Louisiana, the Caribbean, India, and West Africa. Under the leadership of Louis XV, French commanders such as Louis-Joseph de Montcalm and Pierre de Rigaud played pivotal roles, defending French interests and clashing with British designs, particularly in North America. Initially, traditional enemies, France and Austria, banded together against Britain and Prussia. But the arrival of Spain as an ally to France transformed the alliances. This shifting dynamic added layers of complexity, with nations maneuvering and changing sides to serve their own interests. Indigenous nations, like the Iroquois Confederacy in North America, aligned themselves strategically with European powers. The alliances of the Seven Years' War were not fixed, but fluid, reflecting the ever-evolving political landscape of the 18th century. The Battle of Plassey in June 1757 marked a turning point in India's history. In the scorching plains of Bengal, Robert Clive led the British East India Company against Siraj-ud-Dowlah, the Nawab of Bengal. The battle showcased Clive's tactical finesse and the strategic use of diplomacy, securing a decisive victory. Plassey signaled the beginning of British dominance in India, with Bengal firmly under their control, laying the groundwork for the British Raj. The year was 1757. Europe, embroiled in the tumultuous Seven Years' War, bore witness to a pivotal clash that showcased the military brilliance of Frederick the Great of Prussia. Faced with overwhelming numbers from a coalition of French and Austrian forces, Frederick the Great devised a daring strategy, a flanking maneuver that defied the odds. The Prussian resurgence at the Battle of Rossbach shattered the enemy's strength. Frederick's tactical genius prevailed against the odds, dealing a significant blow to the coalition forces. Rossbach wasn't just a military triumph, it was a testament to the power of strategic brilliance amidst adversity. Frederick the Great's strategic maneuvering rewrote history, renewing hope for Prussia and solidifying his reputation as a military mastermind. The Battle of Rossbach, a defining moment where tactical genius shaped the course of the 7 Years' War. In the heart of North America, amidst the untamed wilderness, the 7 Years' War unfolded its fateful chapter, the Siege of Quebec in 1759. James Wolfe, leading the British forces, faced off against Louis-Joseph de Montcalm, commanding the French troops in a battle that would echo through history. Wolfe's audacious climb proved pivotal. The climactic clash on the plains of Abraham sealed the fate of New France. Both Wolfe and Montcalm met their end in the heat of battle, but it was the British who emerged triumphant.
The capture of Quebec marked a turning point, signaling the end of French control in North America. These battles, these turning points, is what became the turning point that forged the fate of nations during the 7 Years' War. As we get into their complexities and reverberations, we grasp the enduring significance of this worldwide conflict.
The Treaty of Paris, inked in 1763, marked the culmination of the 7 Years' War, but its significance far surpassed the end of hostilities. More than a cessation of conflict, it was a seismic event that would redraw borders and redefine world power dynamics. The terms of the treaty realigned borders to the world map, transforming the colonial possessions of the major powers. The British colonies saw massive land expansions, provoking the colonies to quickly move west into the newly acquired territories before the possibility of France trying to retake the area in the near future. The Treaty of Paris, a historical document that echoed through time, redefined the boundaries of empires and left an indelible mark on the pages of history. The Treaty of Paris, with its profound implications, remodeled the contours of North America. France, ceding Canada and all lands east of the Mississippi River, placed vast territories under British rule. West of the Mississippi, the expansive Louisiana Territory shifted from French control to Spanish dominion. This reshaping of borders laid the groundwork for Britain's ascendancy in North America, marking a transformative phase in the continent's history. The Treaty of Paris reverberated across the Caribbean, where the sugar trade fueled colonial economies. Guadeloupe and Martinique, prized for their sugarcane, remained firmly under French control, while Britain maintained its grip on islands like Barbados, vital to its sugar industry. This treaty reshaped the alliances and control over these territories, laying the foundation for enduring economic and political changes. Across the Indian subcontinent, the treaty solidified the ascendancy of the British East India Company. France ceded its Indian territories, including Pondicherry, to Britain, paving the way for British dominance in India and setting the stage for the rise of the British Raj. Amidst the treaty's dynamics, Spain made gains and sacrifices in its colonial holdings. These alterations in territorial control would shape the fortunes of Spain, reshaping the colonial map in the aftermath of the 7 Years' War. The Treaty of Paris, a landmark agreement that redrew colonial borders and shaped the destiny of nations across the world.
Despite notable triumphs, Frederick faced an uphill battle, and Prussia faced exhaustion after 3 years of hostilities. The war's devastation left Prussia vulnerable, but their resilience remained intact. As we reflect on this historical pivot, we acknowledge that its lessons continue to shape our understanding of a complex, interconnected world.
Washington's career and prominence expanded in subsequent years, particularly during the American Revolutionary War, which began about a decade later. His significant influence emerged during that time as the Commander-in-Chief of the Continental Army, and later as the first President of the United States. However, during the Treaty of Paris negotiations in 1763, he was not directly involved.